implode. And on every front, we're winning the intellectual battle. That's why they're counter-offensing right now with forced inoculations worldwide, lying about that. That's why they're counter-launching, trying to push GMOs worldwide. It's not working. Now, it was back in 1999 when all this started. And Percy Schmeiser had Monsanto coming after him. They were claiming that even though he had the record of buying his seeds, that he needed to pay them because his crops have been contaminated. And when they contaminate you, they then try to charge you. Now, I've interviewed him several times over the years, but I tell you, the tables have turned muy grande, big time. They have changed in a big way and fast. Big, big. We just went over that in the last hour. And listen, this is a microcosm. Well, it's actually huge. This huge victory, this huge war, connects to all the other things we're fighting. It's the same eugenicist globalist agenda. And we're so close. That's why they're tripling down on everything they're doing. And then doubling down again and doubling down again, because it's all coming out. Yes, there's illegal NSA spying. It's being used for political control and blackmail. Yes, they've gotten rid of the borders for North American Union. Yes, we're going under global treaties to these corporations so they can rule us. Yes, our government's funding radical Islamists to destabilize the Middle East and take our liberties at home in the name of stopping them. Yes, they're trying to bankrupt small farms and ranches across the world to consolidate for big agri. This is a consolidation, vertical integration war in the big corporation's own words. And Percy Schmeiser is, again, a farmer from Bruno, Saskatchewan, Canada. I interviewed him when it was literally first in the news. I'm proud of that fact. He specializes in breeding and growing canola. He creates his own amazing seed line. They didn't like that. That's who they target. They bought up the original seed line. See, it's a monopoly. He became an international symbol and spokesman for independent farmers' rights and the regulation of transgenic crops during his protracted legal battle with multinational agricultural company Monsanto. He was the subject of the 2009 David versus Monsanto film. Schmeiser served as mayor of Bruno from 66 to 83 and as town councilor since 2003 and currently serves as the deputy mayor. In 2000, he received the, how do you pronounce that, Mahatma Gandhi Award for working for the good of mankind in a nonviolent way. That's a big global award, the Mahatma Gandhi Award. I guess it's given by their family. In 2007, Percy Schmeiser and Louis Schmeiser were named winners of the Right Livelihood Award for their courage in defending biodiversity and farmers' rights and challenging the environmental and moral pravity of current interpretations of patent laws. And he joins us now. And again, if you're a libertarian or right-wing listener, I'm just a patriot. I just love humanity. I just want freedom. There are some issues the liberals claim to own, some Republicans claim to own, conservatives, like Second Amendment rights. Well, listen, I just look at each issue as what resonates in my soul, my heart, and for my political research. I'm pro-life. I'm pro-Second Amendment. I'm pro-private property, pro-family rights, pro-choice in your medical decisions, though, for what the government wants to put in you, like vaccines. But the real liberals who are farmers and folks just do the research. They tend to be more educated, and they understand how dangerous vaccines and GMOs are. They'd use GMOs if they worked and were safer. They're not. And so we have to transcend all these labels and come together. And that's what we see. Upwards of 80% have now turned against GMO in this country, when just a decade ago, most people were for it, smoking the dope, that it was no big deal. So we've hit a major tipping point. I want to recap his story. I want to get into what he went through. But first off, Percy Schmeiser, I've just been ranting for 5 minutes. I'm so excited. You've been through this saga. You've been through the ringer. Are you glad you did it? And is it bittersweet, or how fulfilling is it? Because in my life, when I've been persecuted, gone through hell, when I go through it and I'm victorious, those are the things I value most in my life. I look back on things that were horrible at the time where I did the right thing and people were attacking me, laughing at me, coming after me, but later I was proven right. I savor it. And I'm not an arrogant person, but I don't savor status or money or power or any of that stuff, but I do savor the adversity, the hard road, doing it my way, doing the right thing and winning. You are an incredible hero. You're like a movie star to me. What you did, one of the first and only people to stand up when nobody else was, to go through the gauntlet, through the Ninth Circle, and here you are. What is it like for you today to see global victories against this wicked institution of Monsanto?
Well, it is a very gratifying thing that has happened. We would never have changed, or never would change what we've done. We would do the same thing over today if it would happen again. No one, and that stand both my wife and myself took, should be able to control the future of life, especially the life of a seed, and take your rights away. No one should have that right. And that's what was happening to us, and that's why we stood up to Monsanto, because we believed in the freedoms of our people and the people of what people eat and the rights of farmers to use their seed from year to year.
Amazing. You've got the floor. I mean, I could go anywhere with this, but where do you want to start first?
Well, there's so many issues. You know, when there's the issue of the environment, the issue of labeling, the issue of the farmers' rights, the patent law. So there's so many issues, and then if I look back what we were told by especially Monsanto back in 1996 and 1997 when the GMOs first introduced in both our countries, Canada and the United States, and what has happened today, it's just amazing, and it just shows how the people were led down the ivory by the ivory tower. And so again, there's so many issues that arise, and I think one time there was a time when often we would say, will this ever end? Will we be successful? And believe me, in the last 2 years, it's been gratifying to see. Now, before it was an issue of farmers, but now it's an issue of everyone. The rights of people to know what's in their food, the rights of people to know and have labeling so they can have the right food for their children and grandchildren and so on. So that's very gratifying to see what has happened, especially in the last 2 years.
Oh, wow. I mean, it's just to see in the last month the tipping point begin and the implosion of McDonald's, Monsanto being derated down to a bad investment by major brokerage firms, to see all these hundreds of big companies saying they're going to start getting the GMO out, you know, the Roundup, the aspartame, the additives. I mean, it's not just on Roundup, and it's not just Monsanto. Across the board, I think we've hit the tipping point. What do you think?
Very much so, because I mentioned like the food that we eat and the ability to know what we eat, but the whole issue, besides the control of farmers, is the whole issue of health, which is causing a lot of problems. And I think that's why, like you mentioned, it's not only one company, there's a number of companies involved in this whole issue. And I believe that it has taken this long for it to come full circle, and people now know and realize what it's all doing to them, and the health issue, the environmental issue, the control, the patent issue, the control of people or farmers in what they grow, and the ability of the farmers not allowed to use their seed from year to year. To give you an example, canola in Canada right now, you have to buy from a company. There's really no conventional canola left. It's all GMOs. So that just shows you to an extent.
And that was the plan. Explain that. I mean, they targeted the farmers first to take over the market, to monopolize, kind of like Walmart does, coming in and getting rid of all the businesses around it, and then jacking up prices. I mean, explain how they did this, where you can't even get, I mean, they've destroyed the original system of sharing the seeds.
Exactly. And to give you an example, it used to cost a farmer around 90 cents an acre to seed a canola crop. To seed that same acre today, because you're forced to buy the seed, costs you close to $60 an acre.
Wow.
And you have no choice. If you want to grow canola, you have to buy genetic altered canola. And if you were to go to Australia or Germany somewhere and get non-GMO canola and think you're going to seed it here, you can do that. But I guarantee you by the time fall comes or harvest time comes, it's contaminated, and you can be fined on top of it for growing a crop with GMOs in it.
Now, let's get this straight. You buy it certified from Germany. As, again, you were, I want to go back when we come back from break and recap what you were doing. You have your good seeds. You've got the receipts. And then their stuff blows into your crop, or they plant it there, as we know there's evidence of that's probably going on. Then they have their people, usually former FBI agents or Royal Mounted Police. They go in, pull the plant out of all the others they know is theirs, and then they sue you saying you stole their stuff, even though they've contaminated Percy Schmeiser.
Exactly, and here's another thing that the court had ruled that time: the rate of contamination does not matter. If it's even half of 1%, you are liable for patent infringement, and they can take your crop, make you burn your crop, and charge you so much an acre, and they will under the patent law.
Stay there. I want you to break down and explain it, because it's not like a plant has one daddy, one mommy. A plant can have 100 dads or moms in there because it's cumulative with pollen. So if they get one little bit of their pollen on your plant in your field, and it's 0.5% Monsanto, they take everything you've got. That's because they wrote the laws, and it's unbelievable, premeditated takeover. Further, become a sponsor. That's what it's all about. I know we have listeners in every town listening to us, and over 170 affiliates out there. Get a billboard for the show or for the station. Say, I appreciate you, station, carrying Alex Jones. I'd like to put a billboard up and say, learn the truth. Alex Jones, and then the call letters and the frequency. And it's that act that's going to contribute to saving the country. Little things like that, or go and start your own show. I don't care. Just get involved. Say no. Stand up. Percy Schmeiser, the Canadian farmer who was one of the first to be sued by Monsanto. Percy, I think before we get into the big picture and what's happening, where this fight's going, I think you should recap for folks. This is a short segment, long segment coming up. The next 5 minutes. What happened to you 16 years ago, and the fight and your victory, and then where it's all gone from there? Because, early on, they controlled the courts. They wrote the laws. A lot of that's reversed now. But they snuck attack agriculture. And they used North America as their nesting operation before they invaded the rest of the planet. And when I say invade, they've got secret projects to infiltrate third world countries and plant and get around their laws. They are hardcore. Percy Schmeiser, worldwide hero against the juggernaut, the Goliath that's now on the ground. We haven't cut his head off yet, but he's knocked out. He's been hit in the head by one of those smooth river stones. And I think all of us collectively have got that big sword up. All we've got to do is have the will to drop it and deal the killer blow. So Percy Schmeiser, tell your story. When we come back, I want to talk about dealing the death blow.
Okay, I'm really glad you asked me to comment on this particular area. My wife and I had a lawsuit laid against by Monsanto in 1998, 2 years after the introduction of GMOs into U.S. and Canada, and that was on canola, soya, corn, and cotton. But a lot of people don't know the other lawsuits that we went through. So this was the first lawsuit. It was a patent infringement where Monsanto was saying we were growing Monsanto's GMOs without a license from them. And because we were contaminated, the judge ruled we ought to or should have known that there were some GMOs from Monsanto in our crop. So that was the first lawsuit, and by the time it went through the Court of the First Court, the Court of Appeal, and Supreme Court, Monsanto at the Court of Appeal laid another lawsuit against us. I'm going to tell you this because of how they tried to stop us. They laid another lawsuit of $1 million lawsuit against us to try and stop us financially. So we had that lawsuit to fight also. Now, we questioned, where do you arrive at the $1 million? And he said $750,000 for legal and expense for Monsanto, $250,000 for disbursements costs. So we had to fight that. So at the end of that trial, the court ruled that we would not have to pay Monsanto any money until the final decision by a court would be made. So that was bad enough. We had to fight the $1 million one. But what was worse than after that, they did again try to stop us. They laid a lien or a caveat. They tried to seize our home, all our farmland, our bank accounts, and our farm equipment. So now we were back in court again to fight. So we had, by the time we were successful to have this case heard all the way to the Supreme Court, there were 3 lawsuits by Monsanto against us. And what made it really bad, at one point in time towards the last lawsuit laid against us, we ran into one of Monsanto's representatives in fact, this was at Cape Town, South Africa, at the Parliament. and coming out the door of the assembly of the South African Parliament,